News.
Okay, and now it's time for our weekend recap. We're going to kick it off with Francesca Hennessy's points win over Ellie Boutel for what was the WBC Bantamweight interim title. A fight that she ended up headlining as a result of both Adam Azim and Gustavo Lemos suffering injuries in preparation. Francesca, a mid-range to inside fighter combination puncher, relying on angles and rolling and countering, slipping and countering, catching and countering. She likes to operate mid-range to inside within the line of fire, as you can see here. Peppering Ellie Boutel with punches mid-range to inside in the exchange in close quarters. Punches downstairs, punches upstairs, showing a good variety of punches overall, though not impactful enough to get a stoppage. Still enough to show the neater, tidier work, at least opposite the ring, and Ellie Boutel with this victory. Now, could she get a victory over Shernika Johnson, who holds all 4 alphabet titles at this weight, as that's what this fight was a segue to. At just 8-0, 21 years old, I do not believe that Francesca Hennessy is yet ready for a fight with Shernika Johnson. If you try to box her at that range, she's going to outwork you. She's going to overpower you. I think it's far too soon for Francesca to take on that fight. That opponent, she needs to stand down, step aside, and allow Shernika Johnson and Dina Thorsland to settle up with each other. Dina Thorsland, who also fought yesterday in her native Denmark. Francesca would be better off continuing to amass experience by making defenses of that interim title. I do not yet see a fighter that is ready for the likes of Shernika Johnson. If Francesca Hennessy tries to fight her mid-range to inside, as stated, she's going to get outworked and she's going to get overpowered. She's going to get mowed down. She may have beat Ellie Boutel yesterday, but there were moments in the exchange where Ellie's touching her up with punches in the pocket. She's getting through. Francesca mostly got the better of the exchanges, but it wasn't without taking some lumps here and there from a more seasoned fighter. It could be worse. So while she was able to secure the W yesterday, I think Francesca, her team, and the people at Boxer need to pump the brakes. She's not ready to fight somebody like Johnson. Not yet, but congratulations to her. Over to the Bruce Carrington versus Carlos Castro WBC title fight that took place on the undercard of Stevenson versus Lopez. Precarious at times in the exchange for what used to be Stephen Fulton's WBC title. In hindsight, if Stephen would have had to defend that title against Bruce, he would have lost. He would have got knocked out the way that it happened. Bruce ended up fighting Carlos for the vacant title instead, and Carlos was able to put up a decent fight in spots. There was a moment in the fight where he actually rocked Bruce Carrington, sent him back. Defensively, Bruce looked a little bit shaky at first in the pocket. You could see he wasn't trying to run from Carlos or run from the exchanges, instead holding his feet to try to stay in position to land a big counter, but at times leaving himself vulnerable. Carlos was getting in with some stuff. Bruce was getting in with some stuff. An even fight was in the 9th where Carlos Castro shoots a jab and gets it countered over the top with a hard right around the side. Lands flush. Immediately hurts Castro, at which point Bruce starts pouring it on. Let's go of a 3-4 punch combination as Carlos is going down. The Bruce Carrington I saw yesterday would beat Angelo Leo, I think. Would beat Nick Ball, the IBF and WBA champions. Bruce Carrington I saw yesterday. Very fast, very sneaky with the counters, very much switched on. The Bruce Carrington I saw yesterday would beat Angelo Leo, would beat Nick Ball, would beat Brandon Figueroa, I think, who Nick Ball is about to fight. The biggest threat to Bruce in this division was and still is Rafael Espinoza, this division's WBO champion. Him aside, I think that Bruce beats all the other champions at the weight, and now that he's become a champion himself, it's a question of, will they get him at least one unification match before he outgrows this division, before he has to move up? All the money that Turki El Sheikh throws at all these other guys for all these other fights, some of which deliver and some of which don't. I would like to see him throw some more money at the featherweight division and bring unification matches to that division. Deliver Bruce, one of those other champions. The prediction stuck, and Bruce Carrington was able to pick up the vacant WBC title. I said that he would on a good number of occasions, but it only gets more difficult from here. Congratulations to him. Over to the heavyweight contest between Brooklyn's own Jerrell Miller and Kingsley Ibeh that arguably stole the show. But not for the right reasons. Highlight moment of the night, as in the early goings of the fight, Kingsley Ibeh established that he wasn't there to play around or be pushed around by Jerrell Miller, instead backing him up and backing him off, landing punches. Hard ones, because Jerrell Miller's a big guy. 3 and change. For Kingsley Ibeh to be backing him up as much as he was in the early goings of the fight, he must have been landing hard. So hard that Jerrell Miller's hairpiece came off, which I think came as a surprise to everyone watching, because up until that point there was no indication that Jerrell Miller had lost all his hair. I almost didn't believe my eyes as I watched it happen. Ibeh's getting in with punches, and it looks like Jerrell Miller's hairline is moving further to the back of his scalp until it finally just rises off his head.
It made me funny as fuck for this shit, dude. Nigga hair toupee came off. Nigga toupee came off.
I think for me and a lot of people that were watching, the rest of the fight became a blur after that, because we were just in awe of what happened. But that hairpiece coming off must have been enough to put the battery in Jerrell's back as he starts coming on strong after that. Jerrell Miller, a mid-range to inside pressure fighter, a physically imposing one, likes to march forward, throwing punches in bunches. He never could generate the speed or snap in his punches to be a one-hitter-quitter guy in spite of his size. His limited range of motion, in spite of his weight, just can't turn into his punches enough to make them concussive, so he instead settles for volume, activity, pressure, turning things around and remaining one of the more colorful characters in the sport today. He's got a big personality. What the fuck happened to the top of his head? Whatever happened, it must have happened recently, because I remember the shellacking that he took at the hands of Daniel Dubois. What was it, year and a half ago? That if he was wearing a hairpiece in that fight, it likely would have came off. No, that wasn't a hairpiece in the Dubois fight.
It's being stressful. You know, I lost one of my other friends a couple weeks ago in a car accident. You know, my aunt was in a car accident. And then I get to New York and I'm washing my hair and all my hair fucking drops out and it's fucking ammonia and bleach in the bottle. And I'm just like, fuck it. If it falls off in the fight, I'm just gonna make fun of it. And sure enough, it fell off in the fight.
Can you show us the hair on camera?
Oh bro, God. So you can see the irritation like from the burn from fucking chemical, bro.
You threw it into that crowd,
yeah,
right?
man, it's fun, bro. Listen, man, you know, you understand something. You gotta say something about me, man. I love to have fun, bro. Like, if you can't make fun of yourself, bro, it is what it is, bro. Like I said, I've had hair before, so thank God, hopefully it grows back. But like I said, it's cool. At least it's gonna go viral on the internet now. You know what I mean?
Spencer, what do you want next for him?
Well, look, whatever could have gone wrong went wrong, and we're lucky to scrape through this one. But I'm proud of him because he got through it and he done the job.
I remember when Jerrell Miller failed the VADA test. I can't remember if it was the first one or the second one, but he said it was due to gas station dick pills. That was his explanation. His explanation for last night's fiasco is apparently his mother put ammonia and bleach in a shampoo bottle. Okay, bro. Okay. Theater of the unexpected, right? Jerrell Miller's always got a good explanation for the stuff that happens. Over to the Keyshawn Davis versus Jermaine Ortiz fight, where, at least in the beginning, not a lot happened. It seemed an exercise in Jermaine Ortiz moving around and trying for punches that he wasn't really in position to land, not committing to them as to not stay in the pocket too long and be subject to Keyshawn Davis's power. Keyshawn Davis, he didn't exhibit anything semblant of a strategy, a plan of action for Jermaine Ortiz, which we discussed during the live broadcast. It seems like he just went in there thinking he's gonna outskill the guy, out-talent the guy. I feel like we were already seeing a difference between Bo Mac's version of this fighter and the version that stands before us now, that he's not with Bo Mac anymore. Seemed ordinary for long spells in the fight, only occasionally getting through with a punch. It did happen enough times that Keyshawn was able to close Jermaine Ortiz's eye, noticeable swelling. And this went on for a while. Things don't really liven up until the 11th when Keyshawn Davis finally scores a knockdown, the first one of the fight, off a sneaky, well-placed body shot around the side. Sort of a statement that in Keyshawn Davis's super lightweight debut, he packs a big enough punch that he can stop a guy who's never been stopped, never been knocked out. A guy who's been in there with Vasyl Lomachenko, a guy who's been in there with Teofimo Lopez. He doesn't finish him in the 11th. Jermaine Ortiz rose to his feet and survived the 11th round, but was put down for the last time in the 12th, off another well-placed body shot. I wasn't overly impressed with this performance from Keyshawn Davis. Though at the same time, I'm not overly critical because it was his first fight at the weight. He's been out for a bit. Jermaine Ortiz is a characteristically frustrating fighter to fight. I've yet to see anybody have an easy time with Jermaine Ortiz, Keyshawn Davis included. I'm a bit lukewarm on the whole thing, on the performance. The power is real, and the power is there. But it took that power long enough to show up. I suppose it's encouraging that Keyshawn was able to score this knockout so late into a fight, because it was in the 12th, it was towards the end. It's all right, I guess, but Keyshawn Davis, he has looked better. Congratulations to him. Now for the main event. It was everything I thought it would be. Uneventful. An anticlimactic fight where Shakur Stevenson, through range control, would be able to have his way with Teofimo Lopez. Shakur Stevenson, a pure boxer. Teofimo Lopez, a boxer-puncher that I've said on many occasions, a stylistic matchup that doesn't make for a fun fight. Stylistic matchup where the pure boxers got the drop on the boxer-puncher, because boxer-punchers don't throw caution to the wind the same way that pressure fighters do, and boxer-punchers don't often have the same work rate that pressure fighters do, that when you compare performances, William Zepeda did better against Shakur than Teofimo did, in spite of Teofimo being a more highly rated fighter. He doesn't have the ingredients for this assignment. That is an assertion that I've often made here on the channel. He doesn't have the temperance, doesn't have the work rate, the consistency. Doesn't even mean he's a bad fighter, but this is a particularly bad style matchup for a fighter like Teofimo Lopez, who could not find his way around Shakur Stevenson's jab. His jab was really the star of the show, and it was all he really needed to interrupt, deconstruct Teofimo Lopez. There is a legitimate argument that Shakur Stevenson beat him with one hand, in tandem with a bit of distance control. It's what I said. Teo's coming forward, trying for punches. Shakur takes a half step back, not a full step. He's not running from him. He's trying to stay just out of range of Teo's punches, but close enough that he can shoot a counter, land it, and interrupt his rhythm. Teofimo never got one going because Shakur couldn't miss him with the jab, and even if Shakur's not that concussive a puncher, because it's a punch Teo doesn't see, it stings. There wasn't a difference in speed, necessarily, between Teo and Shakur, so much as a difference in timing. At the start of it, you could see that they were both fast, and in terms of speed, they were about even. It's when the punches are being thrown that made the biggest difference. Timing. Shakur has better timing, and a lot more poise than Teofimo Lopez, poise being characteristic of many pure boxers. Measuring their approach, waiting for the right moment to strike, and only really striking from a safe distance. Frustrating for a guy like Teofimo, who relies on counters in the exchange to land his best punches, the hard ones. He couldn't do that with Shakur. It was frustrating for the people at home, I think, because as the fight wears on, each round is similar to the last, and you can see Shakur's clearly ahead. Frustrating. Badly damaging Teofimo's left eye, where he opened up a cut and drew a lot of blood, a lot of redness. By now, it was established Shakur couldn't miss him with the jab, and he was having his way with him. So why not step into the punches a little more, put a stamp on it, bring over some more backhands, take it to Teofimo. Shakur Stevenson was dominant, there's no doubt about that, no doubt about who won. You could go as far as calling it a masterclass, but you don't show that fight to a casual boxing fan and make a hardcore out of them. Shakur was just as dominant against Teofimo as Devin Haney was against Brian Norman. What do they have in common?
They're both pure boxers.
When a pure boxer is having it all their way, that means there's not a whole lot going on. If they're winning, and they're winning on their own terms,
Too much ain't happening.
all the more frustrating because as the fight progresses and you enter into the second half of it, he's knocking Teofimo Lopez off balance. The punches that are getting in, Tio's not taking them well. You got the impression that if Shakur hits the gas a little more, he could get a knockdown, maybe force a stoppage.
But he's a pure boxer. Pure boxer's not gonna hit the gas. Pure boxer's not gonna do that.
He outclassed Teofimo, and you can say that, but after the fight, I didn't walk away from it pumped to see Shakur Stevenson again. I can't think of someone that I really, really want to see him fight, save Gervonta Davis, who's got so much legal trouble.
Even if he didn't, he's never wanted that fight. Shakur would do to Gervonta what he just did to Teofimo for the exact same reason.
It doesn't get said often enough that Gervonta has the same limitations as Teofimo, the same base style as Teofimo, with a few nuances, a few differences.
But it'd be the same shit.
Same thing. Through range control, a judicious jab, and impeccable footwork, Shakur would deconstruct Gervonta the same way that he just deconstructed Teofimo.
The only thing that might make that fight more exciting than this one is a lot more people have a higher opinion of Gervonta Davis than they do of Teofimo because they've seen Teofimo get beat before. Gervonta is still an unbeaten fighter.
So perception would add a layer of intrigue to a Davis fight, though alas, we're never gonna get it.
Where does Teo go from here?
Suffering a loss like this to Shakur Stevenson does not have to be the end of Teofimo Lopez's career. It all depends on how he handles this psychologically. I do think that by the third round,
He checked out. He knew he wasn't going to be able to get to this guy.
mentally he knew, if I can't amass an early lead, if I can't get to him while I'm fresh and the fight just started, I'm not gonna be able to get to him later on.
So what does he do now?
Well, listen, so long as he stays away from that base style, he should be alright. In tandem with some overdue additions to the corner, because his father
He's taught him about as much as he can.
may seem an awkward conversation for Teofimo to have with his dad, and a difficult decision to make, but Brian Norman just made that decision.
Father and son duos are a gift and a curse because oftentimes it's the fathers that introduce the sons to boxing, though not after long, they outlive their usefulness.
For how many years now have you heard people say that Teofimo needs a new trainer, he needs a new corner, that he's a good physical specimen?
But his father's taught him everything he can. He needs somebody new.
He's got to make the big boy decision that Brian Norman just made. He's got to put his big boy pants on and think about the rest of his career, because this is not the end. It doesn't have to be.
And Shakur?
Well, it was a dominant victory for Shakur, which is what I expected. You could call it a masterclass. You could say that he won practically every single round, but I didn't walk away from that fight pumped to see Shakur again.
Pure boxer's not my cup of tea. How many times have you heard me say that?
I consider Shakur better with that base style than Devin Haney. He's marginally more exciting than Devin.
Now he's got a bigger scalp on his CV than any scalp on Devin Haney's CV, but neither one of these guys are exciting to watch. You don't show someone a Devin Haney fight or a Shakur Stevenson fight, somebody who doesn't normally watch boxing.
You don't show them these guys and make a boxing fan out of them, because as skilled and effective as they are, they're just not exciting.
The prediction stuck.
Congratulations to him. It's what I thought it would be, and what I thought it would be was anticlimactic.